travel, Todd Harris. So welcome you guys from the UK. Man, we are going to need to bring on some of our European leaders to be part of this call because we're getting quite a few individuals from across the pond that are joining us today. So I see the UK, Brittany, France, Vancouver, Belgium, Washington, San Antonio, New York. You guys welcome. UK, man, so many people from the UK are joining us today. So we also have Shanghai, China. Welcome, Anthony. It's good to have you. Orlando and Santa Quinn, Utah. Let's see, Tropical, Pennsylvania. All right, you guys, we've got a great show packed for today. In fact, the gentleman that we have on has been part of the team that has helped drive the scanner, especially the S3, in the market for the last number of years, and has extensive experience in the healthcare industry. I'm not going to ruin his experience and where he comes from. And so, ladies and gentlemen, not only do we have the opportunity to hear from him, but he's got his son here with us today. So please put your virtual hands together and welcome today Greg and Gregory Caldwell. Greg and Gregory, are you there?
I'm here. How's everything going?
All right. Welcome, gentlemen. It's so good to have you. Now, let's start with you, Greg, because you're the more senior Caldwell that's on the call today. How many years have you been with Nu Skin? And tell us a little bit about your background, specifically in the healthcare space.
Yeah, so thanks, Buck, and truly a pleasure to be here today with everyone. Truly honored to be invited to this call and be a part of this. With that said, I'm an eye doctor. I'm an optometrist. I started in the business in October of 2020. So COVID years, whenever I started. Really how I got into it, Buck, if you want me to go down that path a little bit, was as an optometrist, I work more in the disease side, and patients were coming in for macular degeneration and glaucoma and just asking, resveratrol, can I use this to help support? We're not treating, to help support my macular degeneration. Can I use CoQ10 to help support my glaucoma? And, at that point, before 2020, I had to say, I don't know. KNOW, not know. So I started doing some digging and really, luckily, timing in life, stumbled upon Nu Skin, the science, something I could trust with my license that was out there. And really, I was able to use the S3 scanner, as you said at that time, and to be able to find something that I can trust with my license, a quality company, a device, which we'll talk about a little bit more. So I'm an optometrist in Pennsylvania, using this in patient care, loving it. And as you said, I have my son doing the business now.
That is fantastic. So I just want to double click on something you said there. So when you would have these patients that were coming in and they were looking for some of these natural solutions, did you find that using the S3 scanner, as they increased their score, did they see the benefits, and were you able to measure those?
Yeah, absolutely. That was really the key, right? So as an eye doc, would you be a little bit crazy if I would say, hey, based upon the way you look today, I'm going to give you these pair of glasses? No, we like to measure, right? Read the eye chart. You're reading the top, which is better, one or two, and then you read the eye chart, and then you prescribe a pair of glasses. I just wouldn't say, hey, your eye pressure looks high, I think you should take these drops. Hey, your pressure's high, looks like you're on your way to glaucoma. Let's start you on these drops. So let's measure, let's support or treat, in that case for glaucoma, treat, and then see if it goes down. So when it comes to nutrition, I think that this is really the game changer, and it was the game changer in my practice to be able to measure. And let me digress off, because I have another thought in my mind. I did a little kind of poll. All the rooms I worked in, I put a sticky down, and if the patient was taking a supplement, I would mark it down. So it was about 65 to 70% of the people that were taking a supplement. And what it was able to do was kind of be that lie detector of whether the supplement was working, right? So not only was I measuring for my patients and being able to put them on a Pharmanex Nu Skin product and show the benefit and how it's working, I was able to kind of say, hey, look, you're using this product, it's not working. you're spending $1 a day. Do you mind spending $2 a day on something that's a little bit, in my opinion, a little bit higher quality? And let's see what happens. Watch the scores go up. And then where I can feed off of that is watch the behavior changes. When you start to gamify nutrition, they would come in and they would say, hey, look, I'm not eating those French fries and that seed oil anymore. I'm eating a salad. So not only were we making nutritional changes, we were making lifestyle and behavior changes, which was just fantastic. Changing diets like a nutritionist or changing diets as like a dietitian would as in an eye care facility. And as we know, the eyes are the windows to the soul. There's 300 diseases that can be picked up in an eye exam. And just to be able to help maybe mitigate that vision loss that was from out there was so rewarding. But back to your question, Buck, it was all about the measurement.
Wow, Greg, that is incredible. Or should I call you Dr. Caldwell? Which do you prefer?
I prefer Greg. So
okay.
There's no patients around, so Greg is just fine.
Thank you, Greg. And Gregory, not only are you following your dad's footsteps in name, but tell us a little bit about your path and how you have come across Nu Skin and what you're doing with Prism now.
Yeah, and I wanted to thank you again for having us on. This is obviously a great honor, and we're obviously happy to be here talking to everybody. So I graduated college last year in the spring, and my background is in biology and cellular biology, and I've always had a passion for genetics and health and wellness. So when the S3 scanner was out, I was kind of in the loop a little bit about it just from hearing my dad talk about it. Started doing some research in the winter right before I graduated, and was starting to realize that this is something that I maybe want to get into. And I took the summer off, enjoyed summer, and then really started in September when the S3 scanner was still out. And I called that my training in a sense. And I got into it and hopped in at the perfect time with the Prism starting to become available in November and December. So obviously, it's a lot of fun working with my dad. We get to travel to a bunch of different conferences, and it's advantageous to me because I have a lot of people that, they know I'm out of college now, it's been a year, and then they'll ask me like, hey, what are you getting into? And like, what are you doing? What's your job? And that's just kind of a nice segue for me to start explaining all of this to them.
That is fantastic. Well, you've made the right move, and you've got an incredible mentor to help you along the way, because we are in awe of your dad and what he's built over the last, how many years has it been, did you say, Greg?
Yeah, I started October. I signed the contract October of 2020, and November I started scanning patients. So November of 2020. So.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about nutrition, because you mentioned, Greg, in your practice that you would see patients and you would be able to look in and understand nutrition and how that impacts their eyes. Have you always been interested in nutrition, or did you start getting involved and really becoming more passionate about it as you saw the impact on people's health?
Yeah, I've always been interested in nutrition, and as eye care, providers, back in the day, when it comes to macular degeneration, the AREDS2 and the AREDS2 formula kind of was these double-blinded studies that came out that helped to kind of show the support for macular degeneration. So there was always in eye care for different conditions this support for these for eye conditions, especially in macular degeneration. So, but my point is whenever I teach eye docs or anyone, it doesn't even have to be an eye doc, is that if you're trying to support macular degeneration, if you go to AREDS2 FAQ NEI, National Eye Institute, NEI, just put it in a search bar, frequently asked questions, AREDS2. So just those acronyms, AREDS2, FAQ, NEI, and you hit enter, you'll see that the first one that comes up is about the frequently asked questions for AREDS2. And if you go down to the fourth question, it says, can I take a multivitamin, which LifePak is way beyond a multivitamin. It's one of 8 formulas that's out there, but for layman's talk, we can call them multivitamin. But if you read the fourth question down, it says, can I take a multivitamin if I am taking AREDS 2? And the very last line says 9 out of 10 people were taking a multivitamin. So what I say to my eye care providers or anyone that wants to support this condition is that wouldn't you want to follow what the study said? 9 out of 10 were taking a multivitamin. So most people just recommend that AREDS 2. So why wouldn't you want to take that multivitamin, which now we have one of the best that's out there, scientifically proven, between LifePak. So it stacks right on there. So yes, long drawn out is that I've been really interested in nutrition. And let me digress from that is that when you have someone that is not metabolically healthy, their muscle is totally different than someone that's working out. In glaucoma, there's a drainage tissue that's called the trabecular meshwork. In glaucoma, that tissue is just not as healthy as someone that doesn't have glaucoma. So there are all these ways in the body, that's just the eye, but within the body, we're talking the brain, the heart, the kidney, that giving nutrition to the body supports it. And just let me just throw this one last comment out there. When we scan people, and your studies have shown it, we have all these studies coming out through New Skin. You just had the lifestyle study. You have where LifePak against the placebo that's out there. Most people, here's a little buzzword, most Americans are micronutrient deficient. So when it comes to the nutrition, we have macros, protein, carbohydrates, and we have the fats. That's your macros, that's your building. Most people, where you have to have that protection, most Americans are micronutrient deficient. So man, do we have a lot of work to do, but man, it's a great opportunity to help our clients, our not patients, measuring with that Prism, and then making that recommendation of LifePak, and then going beyond with all the other great Pharmanex products and New Skin products.
Yeah, Greg, you mentioned that mesh that breaks down.
Trabecular meshwork.
Say it again.
Trabecular meshwork.
Trabecular meshwork. So,
Yep.
you know, when Dr. Joe Chang was on here, he was talking about aging is really the breakdown of tissues. He said, you know, he compared it to a seesaw. And on one side of the seesaw was the breaking down of tissues. And you just validated that. And, you know, when you're talking about eyes breaking down and getting older, it's the breaking down of that trabecular meshwork. And what you're saying is, and this is validated with the most recent study that came out on Prism and Prism scores. And I don't know if you've seen this yet. I don't believe we put out a public, we put out some PR around it yet. But the interesting thing was this was Dr. Chang, not Joe Chang, but Dr. Chang at Stanford Medical, that was doing research on the Prism and found that they went and looked at all of the different organs and found that if those individuals that had a higher score had less years on those organs. So overall, they said that if you had a higher Prism score, and I can't remember the exact, we'll get the details on it, but you were 5 years younger than individuals that had a lower score. And it was the first time that it actually tied it to age and the appearance of age and how your body is actually aging. So it's interesting to see how you're seeing that specifically with the eye.
Yeah, and I can feed off of that because I did see that study. The number in there that they used was off the Prism was 490. And they were talking about the epigenetics of that. And they used 11 different aging organ systems in the body. So it was like brain, heart, inflammation, so on and so forth. And on average, it was like 4.9 or 4.3, I forget. But on average, it was when people had a 490 score or higher, based on epigenetics, that their overall organs were younger by that 4.3 or 4.9%. So about I'm not percent, but years. So about 5 years. So that's the fourth study that came out. So that you have the blood serum study, which is amazing with that correlation of 0.77. Then you have the next study that came out that showed, hey, look, here are the scores, and look how sleep and look how diet and exercise and sunlight. And then out of that study was the 410. When 410 is higher, you have the better skin attributes, you have the smaller pores, the smoothness that's out there. Then you came up with the placebo, testing it against nothing and the life pack and showing that the score goes up. And now we're showing the epigenetics. So that reminds me, I just want to make one comment here. As an eye doc, I'm considered a key opinion leader. I work with a lot of industry. I've worked in the pharma side. I do some pharma lectures. I work with helping to promote devices, so on and so forth. I guess if you want to say an influencer in the eye care space. Let me tell you one thing that's really awesome about New Skin and Pharmanex. With that being kind of the supplement side. There are companies out there that have a great device and sometimes not the best solution. And sometimes they have a great solution, but their testing device is not the best. I can tell you what's really amazing about what we're sitting here talking today is we have a device, Prism, validated, 20 years. You have the Raman database. You've got machine learning. You've got hyperabsorption spectroscopy. You've got I want the audience to realize you've got a kick butt rocking instrument, scientifically validated. All right. Do you have a great product? Absolutely. Very rarely does that line up that you get a way to test and a way to be able to have a solution recommending with that 6S process, recommending that you're not micro poisoning people, right? That's what I love about it in that 6S process, safety. They have such low standards of anything, fungus, bacteria, anything that could, heavy metals, lead, mercury. We don't want to be taking something on a daily basis and to be micro poisoning ourselves.
Yeah.
So very rarely does that happen where you have a great company and a great solution. So that's awesome.
Greg, thank you so much for sharing that. Now, I want to switch gears a little bit and pull in Gregory. So, Gregory, it sounds like you and your dad have been working together for the last year or so, or maybe the last couple of years. Tell me, how is it? How are you guys working together? And also, how are you guys finding clients? Or are you doing different activities to build the business? Are you building in different ways? I'm just curious about your approach to the market.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of everything you just said. Obviously, we do a lot of conferences, and now that the Prism can go into beyond healthcare now, we've actually expanded, and my dad has been asked to speak at some fitness conferences.
Oh, wow.
So we've been able to go to just a lot of different shows and just expose as many people as we can to the device and to the supplements as well. So.
That's fantastic. And when you guys are going to shows, how does I imagine you've got people that are coming through on a regular basis. Greg, you're probably speaking, which brings in some attention and people have questions. But how does that process work? Are you scanning them? Are you doing assessments? Are you driving them to become clients right then on the spot? Tell me a little bit about that process. Or are these physicians and you're helping them incorporate Prism into their practice and some of the supplements into their practice? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the coolest thing is that being invited now to speak at fitness shows, and then anytime you can get in front of the audience, that is great because there's a little bit further explanation that you can do in a classroom than you can do at the booth, let's say. So I get to speak in front of the audience and kind of show these studies and show, like at a fitness show, it's not more about the inflammation and the tissue and so on and so forth. It's more about recovery. It's more about plateaus. It's more about maybe the trainer or the coach becoming more of a professional or whole body rather than the 3 pillars of health, but come down to exercise, sleep, that's your recovery, and nutrition. And that's really cool. Let me just digress is that I explained to them that we have like Apple Watches and so on and so forth that go after the exercise or the sympathetic side. Then we have our Whoop and our Aura rings. We now finally have something that gamifies or gets us in that nutrition that's scientifically backed. So now we can cover all the pillars, right? We have our Apple Watches or whatever's telling us about activity, sleep, and recovery, which is important. And then we put on top of it, now we have a nutritional scanner that goes on top of that. So now that's now about not about disease state, that comes about recovery in the fitness show. When we do aesthetic shows, it's about, hey, you can do all the outside stuff you want, but we got a score now 410 that shows better smoothness, fixing from the inside. So the aesthetics people are really gravitating to this because people just don't want to look better. They want to feel better, right?
Yeah.
So all this stuff is just feeding. So I do that side, and then it kills Gregory at the booth. And then everything happens where he's signing people up on personal journeys or they want to be part of the business.
That's incredible. And are you seeing at some of those fitness shows, are you getting individuals that are trainers or gym owners as well? Or is it more of the personal journeys that people are on?
I'll let Gregory answer that so I don't dominate the whole call. So since he's been signing those up, Gregory, take a crack at that one.
Yeah, I mean it's really a good mix, honestly. You know, I'll have people that, you know, they were in the lecture and they're interested in a quality supplement. They just want to have it for an at-home way to monitor their nutritional status. And I'll just, you know, casually bring up in the conversation, do you have any interest, you know, in the business, explain about the business a little bit. And they just say, no, I'm on a personal health journey right now. And this is just something that I want to do to advance it. And then I'll get some people that want to incorporate it into their gym, or if they're a personal trainer, they would like it as a way to, you know, recommend a high quality supplement and show a great device off to their clients.
Yeah, that's great. So I'm going to ask the audience that's here with us today, if you've got any questions for Greg or Gregory, please type them in the comments and we'll do our very best to get to them, because I mean, especially with the expertise that you guys have and the business model that you're pursuing of going to shows and conferences and having discussions with not only with physicians, healthcare professionals, but also in the performance space, into the training space, into the physical space. It's interesting. Now, in those two, how are the conversations different? And if they are different, how are they different? Are you changing the pitch of Prism and the supplements in those two different spaces?
Yeah, I can tell you that the pitch, I'll go three different spaces. Within the eye care arena, I can talk a little bit more, kind of more disease state in a sense when it comes to inflammation, oxidative stress, and kind of combating those free radicals that are out there and the tissue damage that we were talking about with the trabecular mesh work, or whether it's a lens in the eye that's, you know, that forms a cataract, or in macular degeneration, the tissue damage that occurs. And what we're doing with when they have a low score, that's high oxidative stress, and then that's creating the tissue damage. And then what we're doing, going back again, when you're using LifePak and all the other supplements, we're now supporting, right? We're supporting those those disease states. That's a different talk than when we're in at the fitness shows. At the fitness shows, I'm talking more recovery, and we're talking plateaus and how we can benefit the clients that are at the gyms. When you get into the aesthetic shows, they're, you know, the estheticians, they're mainly doing a lot of, you know, external, but, you know, I say, look, your skin is your largest organ. So now it comes down to supporting from the inside out and then making it synergistic inside to outside, kind of what New Skin is all about, right? We have our whole skin side, which has amazing products. And now we have the Pharmanex or internal side, where you get the synergistic, where for those that don't know what that means, is in pharmacology, that's where 1 + 1 = 3, right? And that's why whenever we see someone, it takes like a LifePak Elements, and I always tell them, even my patients, I say, take a picture of your neck, and then take a picture of their neck, and maybe they're just doing the internal nutrition, and then we see the skin and how it changes. Then you put some dramatic effects on it, man, you got the external, you got the internal. That's the synergistic effect that we can do. So the talks are definitely different. Now, I did see Jeff's question come in about the AREDs. I could take that at any time. And then I see another one rolling in here. Do you recommend iFormula to your clients too? So that's rolled in.
If you want to tackle those, yeah, we've got a couple of people asking, do you recommend eye formula to your clients? And it sounds like it depends on the show. And with that being the case, you know, your background being in optometry, what is your favorite product with New Skin? Is it eye formula, or what is your favorite product with New Skin? What do you recommend to the people at these two different shows?
Yeah, let me answer your question about my favorite products, because this is, I try to simplify it, is that we kind of got our antioxidant formula. So you have Life Pack and you got your Age Lock Youth that fold into there. Then to kind of take that to the next level, you want to put your fish oil on there. The fish oil is all about the cell membrane. We hear about the omega-3s, the omega-6s. Those are the essential. The omega-6s get thrown under the bus because they're pro-inflammatory. It's just that our American diet is just overloaded in the sixes. The body loves yin and yang. We just like to balance it out with the threes. So that's why the fish oil that Pharmanex has between the Marine Omega and the Optimum Omega, fantastic to put on with the Youth or with the Life Pack, depending on whether it's Elements, Life Pack, or Nano. And I know Nano has some fish oil, which is why it's one of the best products that's out there. So I break it down into your antioxidants, your collagen, which we have the great collagen that becomes now the hair, nails, and all that support that's out there, that all the science that we have, and then your gut. So then you have your gut with your new biome and your meta. So really, when someone, that's kind of how I stack it. Let's get you on something that's going to help with those free radicals. Then when I stack, do you want to go gut or do you want to go hair, nails, and skin? That's the collagen versus the meta / new biome. Usually they eventually all get there, but to me, it's, you got to reduce that that oxidative stress. You have to get them on some type of Life Pack, fish oil, and Youth. Then you stack and go collagen / gut products. I kind of break it down there. With the eye formula, let me just kind of just how much I love these scientists, the scientific group. The eye formula is nothing really more than the AREDS formula that's out on the market. Okay. But what most people don't realize is that 80 milligrams of zinc is actually too high in some genetic markers that are out there. And so it can actually promote at 80 milligrams, it can create what's called wet macular degeneration, which means it's bleeding. So if you're not genetically testing, then just a low dose zinc is the way to go. And the scientists at Pharmanex and New Skin already have 25 milligrams in there. So it is the AREDS formula with the low dose zinc. Now, when AREDS came out, and I'm going to get too sciencey here, it was really for advanced and intermediate and advanced macular degeneration. So do I recommend it to my patients that are kind of early macular degeneration? I usually don't, because when you read the study on AREDS 2, it is for intermediate and advanced. So most of my early macular degeneration patients, they will get a finger scan and they get Life Pack, one of the formulas, because we know that that's where the support comes from. If they start getting into intermediate and advanced degeneration, then I stack on the eye formula, which has the low dose. I didn't say no zinc. I said low, LOW zinc, because zinc monitors the immune system. And what happens in macular degeneration is that you already have an immune system problem. And so it's kind of an autoimmune disease. But if you give too much zinc, you're telling the immune system not to turn off, and that could lead to more of the degeneration. I won't get too sciencey in there. The point is you just want to go with low zinc, which the Pharmanex scientists have already put in the eye formula.
Wow. So it sounds like it is an amazing formula. And I see in the comments, Jean-Michel Deveau says, and here in Europe, they removed eye formula. I'm so sorry. But it sounds like it's an incredible formula. And it does have, I've heard that that's a secret for getting your scan score up, because it does have high levels of carotenoids in it as well. So yeah, thank you guys. I know now,
but in Europe you have Life Pack,
yeah,
which is just as advantageous in my point when you're going after kind of these support systems, not just for the eye, but for the body. So even though it's been removed in Europe, sorry to hear that, but it was very limited in its benefits, if you want to say, because it was formulated after the AREDS 2, just the lower zinc. So not such a terrible thing. Just go with your life pack.
And go with Life Pack. That is great advice. Yeah, here's what I wanted to hear from you guys now is what is your vision? And how has that vision for Nu Skin Pharmanex changed with Prism? Where do you see this going? And how has the Prism allowed you to, if it has expanded, allowed you to expand that vision of what's possible?
Do you want to go, Gregory, since I've been chatting, or you want me to go?
You can go ahead. I'll
Okay.
follow up on yours.
All right, perfect. So yeah, the Prism, as I'll feed off of what Gregory said earlier, Buck, is that, you know, when the S3 was out, it was really could only, I shouldn't say could only be in, but the market that it was the hottest would be the medical community. The reason
Yeah.
being, you know, it was $4,000 to get started. It had a contract, it had click fees, so on and so forth. So that was kind of hard to say, let's put it into a gym, into some aesthetics type of arena. And so what the Prism by, you know, $299, no click fee, no, and now they even took it even better, right? So we were thinking, okay, these have to go into businesses. The genius behind it is that now it can go into the households.
Yeah.
So when you talk about what has changed for me over the last 5 years, 5.5 years, is that it was kind of a, you know, an OBGYN, a cardiologist, an eye doctor, because of the contract, the click fee, the so on and so forth. This is a game changer. This is why now I am being invited, or we're being invited, to speak at fitness shows and to speak at aesthetic shows and to speak at various different type of medical conferences. It has definitely opened up the vision. And now households, amazing.
Wow, that's incredible. Gregory, tell us a little bit about your vision and your thoughts on that.
Yeah, and I would really go off of that it can now go into households. That is one of the main points that I talk about whenever I'm exhibiting at the booth, because at different booths, because a lot of people think that it's meant for a doctor's office or it's meant for a gym, and then I'm able to tell them. I usually say one of the biggest ones is households, and they go, "Wait, so you're telling me that I can have this in my house?" And I'm like, absolutely, you can have this in your house. You can have it as an at-home way to monitor your nutrition. And I usually talk about, and this is what my dad and I will both talk about, you have an Apple Watch, which ties well with fitness. You have an Oura Ring that ties well with sleep. And now you're able to have an at-home way to monitor nutrition. But I just, the vision really is, and I even mentioned this at the booth, is because the devices are being mass produced, and we're able to get so many of them out there that, the sky is the limit for how many people we can expose this to.
That is perfect. And that's the same vision that we have here at Nu Skin, is being able to help people understand their nutrition and how their nutrition is actually impacting their body. It's amazing when you get somebody that sees their score, and then after 30 days of either being on our product or making some lifestyle changes, they see it improve. It's self-propelling, and people start going down a path of better nutrition, better health. They start eating correctly, like what you said, Greg. They get the salads instead of like the French fries. Now, there's a question that came up here that I wanted to ask. And you guys are going to a lot of different shows. So you're going to aesthetic shows, which I assume is the estheticians and skin. You've got then the fitness shows, and you've got the healthcare provider shows. Are you seeing that there are specific practices or things that you say or ways that you guide the conversation that helps with conversions of either buying our supplements or buying Prism in each one of those areas?
You want me to go, Gregory, or do you want to take it?
I can take part of it. It's really about, certain word tracking that sticks with the different groups, more with because I usually get at the booth, I'll get the question of, what makes your supplements different than everybody else's. And then I really get into them and start talking about the success process. And then once I, talk with them, talk with whoever I'm speaking with about that a little bit, then it really, they kind of perk up a little bit and they're like, okay, so this is something truly different. And then, we're able to obviously have the device that you can track your score over a period of time. So it really depends on, the shows that we're going to, but some of our pitches will change, and then some different things will resonate with the different groups as well. So, Dad, if you want to build off of that, then you can go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you have your guarantee to be able to raise the score or your money's back. Does your vitamin give you that ability to do that? To be able to really the key is to be able to score. And then on top of it, then show that there's a concern. That's really what I try to do. It really in my office, at my eye shows, at my fitness shows, or at the aesthetic is that, hey, this is a low score. And then, a lot of people will think that it's a kind of an acute type of measurement, and it's not, right? This is not that your blood sugar is 800 and I got to get you to the hospital, or your blood pressure is 200 over 150. You're at risk for stroke. Let's get you to the hospital. This is a concern because this low score is a grind on your body. So you might not be feeling it now, but come see me in 5 years. And in the roulette wheel of life, is it dementia? Is it an eye problem? Is it cardiovascular? Is it a metabolic issue? And what we're trying to do is stack the deck in your favor. So it doesn't matter where we are, it's to try and drive that concern of that number. And in America, I say, look, we're not really good at chronic disease. We're great at acute disease. We always see the person that's having chest pain and they take a few aspirin, call the ambulance, they get whisked to the hospital and they get a stent put up through their arm and so on. And so we're great at acute. But New Skin and Pharmanex is changing America with prevention and wellness. And that's what we're doing here. And saying, I'm concerned with this score. I'm concerned for you. I say we're kind of like Planet Fitness. This is no judgment zone. Glad we measured, because if we didn't measure, we wouldn't have known this. Let's get you on a product. Let's get you on a journey. So yeah, when you do this at the shows, it typically, what we're starting to see now, Buck, what I was thinking while Gregory was talking is that we're seeing people going on a personal journey, and now they're really now understanding it, and now they're putting it in their wellness clinics or esthetician spas, or they're putting it in their gyms, and the eye docs or the physicians are now not really selling. They now see it, so they're sharing, right? They want to share this good news that's out there. So we're seeing now that we've had the Prism out for about 6 months, people will start on that personal journey. Now I get it. Let me share this with my businesses if they have a business that they can put it into, now that they understand it. So there's a little bit of a little bit longer road to maybe get them to become business, but now once they understand it, then they feel comfortable plugging it into their different businesses that are out there.
Yeah. But that's, the interesting thing is that's what we see. It doesn't matter the channel. It's when they fall in love with a New Skin product and they see the difference. Back in the day, the tagline was difference demonstrated. And when people feel that, they see that, then they become passionate about it. And it's that passion for whatever product it is that has made a difference. Those are the ones that they promote most heavily. And so with this, it may take 30, 60, 90 days for people to see a change. But once they do, the behavior is sticky. It's sticky. And then two, their passion for helping other people make those same types of changes is so much greater. Are you seeing that same type of stickiness in what you guys are doing in all three of those areas, whether it's the aesthetics, the fitness, or the healthcare providers?
The answer is yes. And you're kind of touching on a little bit what this device does. And then when you measure and put them on a great product and you see the score go up, and then the person will report, well, this little inflammation went away on my arm. Is that related? Well, you reduce the oxidative stress in your body. Hey, my nails person says my nails are getting stronger and longer, and so on and so forth. So those are all things that are positives that the person that's taking the product sees. But let me just explain a little bit of where I was going when you said seeing these behavior changes, stickiness. We have these behavior changing devices. We talked about the Apple Watch, Whoop, and Aura Ring, and now we finally have the nutrition scanner, which is the Prism IO. And we always talk about behavior change, but if I would say to a smoker, hey, does it causes lung cancer, emphysema? They're not going to go, oh my gosh, it's the first time I've ever heard that. I'm not going to ever smoke again. They can't quit smoking because of addiction, right? Everyone would say, okay, yeah, they can't quit smoking because they're addicted. It's the same thing. I've done the research, I've worked with other people, is that if I would say to you, Buck, hey, exercise, sleep, and nutrition are all important. And they say, oh, yeah, it's very important. I agree with that. Do you do it? No, I don't do it. And the reason being is just, you can't blame the smoker for not being able to quit smoking because of addiction. It's the same thing. Why it's hormonal. I always say that, logic is knowledge is logical, implementation is biological. So what we're able to do with the Prism device and creating these behavior changes or what I call craving disruption, addiction interruption, neuronal behavior, psychological first behavior, whatever you want to call it, we're disrupting that whole addiction process that's out there, and people don't even know it, which is great. And that's what these devices are for. Body composition scales, whether they're continuous glucose monitors. We have one in nutrition. So yes, long drawn out question, other than me just saying, yes, it's sticky. Yes, we're creating behavior changes. We're breaking those addictions that's out there, which is really cool.
That is great. So do you guys see yourself going forward, going more heavily down one of these paths, whether it's fitness, aesthetics, or healthcare, or do you plan on continuing working with all three of these different areas?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we worked in the eye care space for such a long time, and I mean, this year was the first year we got into fitness, into aesthetics, and it's just been overwhelmingly accepted. So I can't imagine that we're going to give it up. But I'll let Gregory go ahead and speak because I think he was going to say something. So
yeah, I was just going to say the reception from the fitness shows has been phenomenal. It was not what we expected initially going in, but the way that, talking about obviously health and wellness and even throwing in supplementation really gets a lot of personal trainers to ask a lot of fantastic questions. And we always have some great booth traffic, and the way it resonates with them is just something that I wanted to touch on.
That's great. Well, you guys, I know we've got a couple other questions that are here. Someone says, what is your approach with estheticians since they are more beauty focused versus health focused in general?
Great. You want to go ahead, Gregory? Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, I can touch a little bit on it. We really talk about, and I know my dad mentioned this earlier. We talk about how I always say at the booth at the esthetician shows that you have to look good internally. That obviously plays a role in looking good externally. So a lot of the booths at esthetician shows are external, and we could obviously be going to these esthetician shows and introducing the skincare side. It is something that we have for future conferences. We're definitely going to work with that. But being able to talk about, the supplementation and how it plays a role. And then also with the study, the skin attribute study, where a score of 410 or higher leads to overall better skin quality. So tying all that in is obviously very important. And, we're looking to continue to grow with those shows in the future.
And the amazing thing is that we all, well, the majority of us default to the topicals for our skin, but I would say it's just as important to make sure that you've got the beauty within. You know, you've got the right supplementation and the, like you were talking about, Greg, the micronutrients to help support tissue health across the body. So, Greg, did you want to add anything to that?
The only thing I'm going to add to it is I always like to ask, are you as beautiful on the inside as you are on the outside? So, and what do you mean by that? Well, let's get over here. Let's get your finger on this scanner. Let's find out. So, and then whenever you start I mean, I always say a 15-second scan could be a 10 to 20-minute conversation. So, at the esthetician shows, even at the fitness shows, are you as, because they're fit, and that's
Yeah.
the other thing too that you have to be careful of a fitness show. People will come up and go, look how big and bulky and this
Yeah.
and that I am. And you're telling me, I'm like, listen, you got to remember, this isn't a measure of how much you can bench press, how much that you can. And those are the ones I'm more concerned about
Yeah.
because when they're in the fitness, they're producing those free radicals. They're running that Ferrari. They're running that Ferrari on old oil, old antifreeze. The transmission fluid is not, and that's why you'll see some of these people that are fitness. Oh, geez, look at what happened to so and so, ran all those marathons and all that. And in this protein heavy society, and we're staying away from the carbs, which are the fruits and vegetables, we can very quickly become micronutrient deficient. So at these fitness shows, it's important to measure and see that their score is low. And then we try and explain to them why we want to have that high. At the esthetician shows, it's all about supporting the skin from the inside out and being synergistic. So that would be my add on to the question.
Greg, I love that. Yeah, we had an individual here, one of our leaders that is local in Utah, that went to his gym and started scanning individuals that from the outside look built. You know, they've got the muscles, they're shredded, and their scores came back some of the lowest. And they're almost offended when they see that because they're so keyed in on their fitness, but their diets are made up of rice and chicken, and that's largely what they're consuming on a regular basis is protein and some fast metabolizing carbohydrates. And the moment that you show them, no, you're not getting everything that you need for recovery, repair, it gives them a better insight in what their body truly needs to be doing the best that they possibly can, and staving off some of that aging. Staying younger longer, younger looking longer. You guys, I want to ask you one quick question before we call it a day. Any advice that you would give to our listeners today? What sort of advice would you give them when it comes to Prism or to business? How would you help them get going and building in a much more meaningful way?
Yeah, I mean, from me, just getting into this and doing this for 9 months, my biggest thing, my biggest piece of advice is don't be afraid to talk to people about it. And it's obviously something that is important to everybody. Your health. I mean, it's one of the top things, or if not the top thing, to a lot of people. So I would just say, don't be afraid to mention it to anybody. Try to expose it to as many people as possible. And even for people that just want to have it for personal use and have a purely personal journey, that's great as well. But if they're looking to build, obviously, we have great information to be able to, in a fantastic business that they can learn from us off of. And then they can also, start taking that journey for themselves in the business aspect as well.
Gregory, I love that. Tell your story. So Jeff says in the comments below, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So Gregory, that's fantastic. Greg, what about you? Closing comments, advice that you'd give?
Yeah, my advice would be as what I kind of chatted about a little bit earlier. You got a great device, you have a great solution to be able to give. Now, what most people don't have is the confidence that's out there. And goes back to you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. What that means is there's 4 C's out there when it comes to getting to be confident. And so we got to start off with a commitment. You have to have a commitment. What I look for is commitment and courage. courage is negative, right? I'm going to ski down that hill for the first time. I'm not sure if I want to do it. I'm going to do it. I have the commitment, courage. Okay, I did it. And when you go down the first time, you say, okay, I'm capable. That's the third C. Commitment and courage is what you need. Then you become capable. After you do it a couple times, ski down that hill, then what happens is you get the confidence. Everyone wants to be confident. This is new. You're talking nutrition. You're talking, oh, my score is low. Look how fit I am, or this and that. I don't believe it. The science is there. Trust the science. You got a great device. You've got great products. Have the courage, have the commitment, get on calls like this. There's great support teams. Use your uplines. And then what happens is you'll become capable and then you'll become confident. So that's my advice that's out there.
Greg, I love those 4 C's. That is perfect advice. And that's a great way to end the call today, you guys. There is no better training than actually going out and doing it. And so I would encourage all of you guys, take action. Take action now. Share your story is what Gregory was sharing, but get out there and do it. And the more you do it, the more confidence that will come that will help you build your business. So Gregory, thank you so much for joining us. You guys tune in next week. We've got Helen Nags, head of global research and development. She's going to be on with us talking about about LumiSpa. And the advances in LumiSpa, the science behind LumiSpa, and how we know that helps specifically with the external on the anti-aging, preserving the tissues. So you guys, make sure to tune in, spread the word. Helen is amazing, and we can't wait to have her next week, you guys. But it's been a pleasure to be with you. Gregory, thank you so much for joining us. This has been your weekly integrated wellness revolution. My name is Buck McMurray, and this is New Skin. Have a great weekend.